And welcome in, everyone, to Football 24/7 with the John McMullen, our post-game edition. First reaction from Johnny Mack after the Eagles lose their ninth game of the season today. And Johnny Mack, despite a great football game, we still only get 15 minutes to talk about it here on this special post-game edition of Football 24/7. And man, I hate to read the story from the back of the book, but no timeouts, 78 yards to go. You pick it up from there, bro.
Yeah, I think it really came down to the drive before that, and the Eagles were in position to tie the game. You had the back-to-back seam routes to Dallas Goedert. The first one nearly completed, and that would have been really interesting because obviously the Eagles were lost punter Cam Johnson, so it would have been interesting to see if they went for the extra point or for the two to try to win the football game because he holds the PATs. They had an issue before, although that was a bad snap. But they weren't able to convert. Jalen Hurts took 2 sacks in a row, which made it more difficult. And then you're really up against it inside 2 minutes, and the defense did its job. They stopped 3 consecutive running plays, but you had to burn those timeouts. So it came down to essentially back-to-back Hail Marys, and you're just crossing your fingers. It was an entertaining game, so we haven't been able to say that about the Eagles a lot this season. And offensively, it was a shootout. And this team typically has not been able to go give and take in that kind of atmosphere and being able to go up and down the field. But whether you call it spark, whether you call it juice, Jalen Hurts has certainly done that for the Eagles, given them that. 338 yards passing, Krause 3 touchdowns, and 63 more on the ground and another touchdown. This is the starting quarterback for the rest of the season, and we'll see how things unfold in the offseason. But he's playing himself in the conversation, no question about that.
You might even see in your column this week on Philly Voice, you'll certainly hear about it around the Delaware Valley. You'll read about it, not only in your story, John, but I'm sure elsewhere, and I'm sure you'll see it all over Twitter. Jalen Hurts at the press conference, which you were part of. I hate losing more than I love to win. Great quote.
Yeah, well, it's one of those, and it wasn't. It was kind of off the cuff. You could tell it wasn't one of those things where it came in with a manufactured talking point. That's one of the things everyone says about Jalen Hurts. He's so understated when he's in public. Everyone talks about how cool and calm he is, and we just got done talking to Greg Ward. He said he's completely different on the field. He's such a competitor. And you kind of saw that in college at Alabama, Oklahoma, where they don't accept losing in those types of environments. So he's used to being on these big stages. He's used to winning on these big stages. And he doesn't take losses lightly. And even though he put together those great numbers, he was not happy after the game.
Football 24/7 with John McMullen. Eagles post-game reaction as the Eagles lose their suffer their ninth loss of the season. Yet, hence I dare to say it, are still in the playoff, or still in the playoff race, still have a chance, not eliminated, not virtually eliminated, still have an outside chance to get there with 2 games to go. John, I want to get your thought about the defense. It's hard to say the defense played well when Kyle Murray puts up 400 plus yards, but I thought they played well. I thought these inexperienced guys off the practice squad put into a pressure situation, played pretty well at times.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. You look at the black and white numbers, and you see 526 yards for Arizona, and Kyler Murray had his career high. It was interesting because obviously Jalen Hurts is only in his second professional game as a starter, but Kyler had his career high in passing yards, 406 yards. So you look at that and just the box score and you say, well, the defense didn't play well. But I agree with you. They played pretty well. And guys like Michael Jacquet playing corner against DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, think about that. That's receiver in professional football against an undrafted kid who was cut and brought back and put on the practice squad and brought up out of necessity. And he's out there battling. And even on the great touchdown catch by Hopkins, Jacquet was right there and had an opportunity. You sort of just tip your cap to the great player on the other side. And early in the game, I mean, he forced the turnover. He forced DeAndre Hopkins to fumble. And then you have Marcus Epps, who's a second-year player, forced into the lineup because of Rodney McLeod's injury. And he's got a red zone turnover with the interception in the end zone. And it was interesting because, you know, this was Arizona's 14th game of the season, Joe, and they had not turned the football over in the red zone all year, and they did it twice. So, obviously, they were up against it from a talent standpoint. They gave up some yardage, but they also made some big plays when they needed to make some big plays to keep them in the football game. And they had an opportunity to win. And, you know, it's not about moral victories. It's not about style points, but you also got to be realistic and say it could have been a lot worse.
I know sometimes, Johnny Mac, most of these games or a lot of these games that are played come down to a few plays isolated into a box that ultimately make the difference. And I know we're kind of bouncing all over the postgame with this postgame edition of your program tonight, of your show tonight, but I'd love to get your perspective on Andy Lee and the fake punt 26-yard pass that resulted in a first down. The drive ultimately died on the next series. But man, the Eagles were stuck staring when that play unfolded.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't a great day for the special teams. Hadn't been a great year, and it's typically been a strength of the Eagles since Dave Sipp has been here, the special teams coordinator, and that dates before Doug Peterson. He was here when Chip Kelly was the coach. So typically this is a team that has played very well on special teams. That hasn't been the case this season. It's one of the disappointing aspects. And yeah, you get caught in that play. You know, you had the bad snap. You had the block punt. I mean, this is not typical Philadelphia Eagles special teams work. And they did recover. So, I mean, I do think people look at that play and because it's so sexy and they'll say the Eagles got caught. They certainly did, and they're certainly disappointed, but they did hold, and they did hold on fourth down, and it didn't really hurt them in the game, or at least to the point it could have. To me, the block punt was even bigger, and then you lose Cam Johnston to a potential concussion, and then it creates a domino effect because he's the holder as well, not just the punter. So you had Jake Elliott out there punting. He did a pretty good job, actually, under difficult circumstances. And then, you know, Rick Lovato is a guy we never talk about. The reason we never talk about him is because he's almost perfect as a long snapper. And he had a bad long snap. It's been one of those years for the Eagles on special teams.
Yeah, no doubt. When Rick Lovato jumps into the headlines, no doubt about that. John, I want to ask you about the play calling of Doug Peterson. Get your opinion on that, and kind of ask you to frame it up in the context of, hey, this team was down 16-0, and if the Cardinals would have taken upon themselves to put the game away and stop letting this team hang around, we may never made it to that point. Tie those two together for me, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I was most impressed about. I mean, I got to be honest with you. When it's 16-0, and really all three phases contribute to that. Just Jalen Hurts takes the safety early in the game, throwing the football away from the end zone. Intentional grounding. You had the block punt, as I mentioned. So you have special teams, offense, defense, all failing. I thought it was over, to be honest. I thought, okay, they're going to get blown out of here. And one of the things I learned about Jalen Hurts is that, and when things are going poorly and there is tremendous adversity on the field, he's not going to panic. And that's something we learned today. You can talk about it. People have talked about his leadership and talked about how calm he is, but until you see it in action, and I think that we saw it in action, and part of that is his ability to, and we'll give a hat tip to my show, Extending the Play, his ability to extend plays and keep things going and moving the chains with his feet, as well as his passing ability. But typically, I mean, I know the Eagles went into this game with a game plan of saying, okay, let's get the lead. Let's run the football, both with Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts, like they did last week against the Saints, and let's get out of here with a win. And they got behind 16-0, everything changes. That old Mike Tyson quote, Krause, you get punched in the face. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Well, the Eagles got punched in the face, and Jalen Hurts got back up and fought them back into this game, and they had a chance to tie or even win the game late. So that's the positive.
Johnny Mac, one of the areas that surfaced again in the game today that you didn't see last week against the Saints, Hurts was sacked a lot today, under pressure a lot today. The opening, I think it was the opening drive, where ultimately it resulted in a safety for the defense. He was under pressure today.
Yeah, we kind of knew that. We have talked all week about the Cardinals and their defensive coordinator, Vance Joseph. Very unique team when it comes to pressure. They lost Chandler Jones. He's one of the best edge rushers in this league to injury. And ever since then, they've had to figure it out, try to manufacture it. And they're the first team I've ever seen use, they call it a jet package, where they have 6 linebackers on the field. And 5 DBs. They don't even have one defensive lineman on the field. They don't do it a ton, but they do it occasionally. And, when you're talking about young quarterbacks and they don't know where the pass rush is coming from, and they have all these different moving parts, they had 6 sacks today. And Hassan Reddick, a South Jersey native, he was coming off that 5-sack game. He got to Jalen Hurts a couple times. He had a sack, a forced fumble. Gardick had a number of pressures, 6 sacks overall. They're just really good, and more than really good at it, you don't know where it's coming from. And I thought that was going to be an issue for a young quarterback, and it was an issue. But overall, he handled it, I think, pretty well. He stayed calm for the most part.
Come hell or high water, no matter what the story reads tomorrow, Johnny Mac, I think it's safe to say that Jalen Hurts, in his second professional football game, played a good football game.
Yeah, no question. I mean, 4 touchdowns, three passing touchdowns, 1 on the ground. Yeah, they didn't lose this game because the quarterback wasn't able to make plays. The quarterback kept him in this game because he was able to make plays. And this was like a high-scoring basketball game where shooters are shooting the lights out, and you got to keep up or you're going to get blitzed out of the building. The Eagles were able to keep up, and let's be honest, from what we saw with Carson Wentz under center, they would not have been able to keep up in this game. Jalen Hurts kept him in this game.
Yeah, sometimes you just lose the football game. 30 seconds until we say goodbye, Johnny Mac. Your football game ball tonight. After that, after you watched it, lived it, and then talked about it in the post game, who's getting the Johnny Mac game ball today?
I'm going to give it to Lincoln Riley because he's developing some quarterbacks
yeah,
with
right.
Oklahoma. Man.
Yeah, right. No doubt about it. He's got three of them in the NFL right now, right?
Exactly. He's going to have his choice if he does want to leave Oklahoma. And really, it goes back to Baker Mayfield. So it's Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, and now Spencer Rattler for anyone who knows Oklahoma now. But yeah, he's been doing a phenomenal job. And like I said, Kyler Murray set his career high passing number at 406. Jalen Hurts, obviously, his career high. Pretty impressive watching those two guys go back and forth. Football
24/7 with John McMullen, the post-game edition, his first reaction to the Eagles' 9th loss of the season. You'll find him this week starting tomorrow. Subscribe to the Jacob Media channel for all of John McMullen's great content. Great stuff today, Johnny Mac. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks, Travis. Appreciate it.